haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you never miss an upload. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you're not new to my channel, then you probably know about my high school best friend, and I named her Jenny. Jenny and I met our freshman year of high school, but we didn't actually become best friends until our sophomore year of high school. So our freshman year, I was actually really good friends with her sister, and I named her sister Alicia. I think it's the We Jumped Her video where I talk about how Jenny and I met the first time, but the long of the short of it is Alicia and I had a class together. We became really good friends. Alicia was a grade older than I was, so we would hang out a bunch, like outside of school and at school, and eventually I met her little sister, Jenny. My sophomore year, Alicia got a boyfriend and she was spending all her time with him, and Jenny and I started hanging out outside of school, initially through like mutual friends, and then she and I just like really hit it off. So she and I started spending a lot of time together. We were hanging out with this one group of friends, and they were my friends before Jenny and I became friends. So she kind of joined our group. She started spending a lot more time at my house. It got to the point where anytime Jenny wanted to go home and like stay the night at her house, she had to get clothes from my house first. So it was kind of like she was living with me, and then eventually she just started staying with me all the time. Like we went to school together, we came home from school together. Her stepdad even gave my mom like money for food, like once or twice, like to kind of chip in for Jenny since she was living with us and we were feeding her. Of course, my mom didn't want to take the money, but he was really sweet. He always insisted. So Jenny and I were like the best of friends. We got along so well. We laughed all the time. She was so funny. She's like really fun to be around. She's smart, she's funny, she's goofy. Like she's just a good time. She's a badass. She's just a good time. And Jenny and I really never fought. There was maybe like 2 or 3 times, I'd say, the whole time that she lived with me, and she lived with me for like the better part of our sophomore year. And yeah, we only fought like 2 or 3 times, if that. I can remember one time distinctly where we were like arguing, like kind of jokingly, and then it got kind of serious. Like we got like legitimately annoyed with each other, and I had keys in my hand and I did some kind of hand gesture, but whatever I did, I accidentally, like, I think there was like a long keychain or something like that. I accidentally like whipped Jenny with it, like just the tail end of it got her, and she was so pissed. I just remember we were in the front, like we were just getting to my house from somewhere, and we were in my like driveway when this happened. And then I remember she was so mad. We went inside and she was just like, Sabrina, don't talk to me. Like I'm going to the backyard. I need space. Don't go out there unless you want to fight or something like that. And so I gave her a little bit of time, and then I went out there, and I was like in a pretty good mood by this time. So I went out there, and I wasn't trying to fight her, but I almost was like, might I be walking into a fight right now? Anyway, nothing ever happened. We sat on the trampoline and talked it out. But yeah, that was probably the worst fight we had, and that was like, you know, like really little and insignificant. But towards the end of our sophomore year, Jenny started dating this new guy, and we will call him Adam. So I mentioned in other stories how my sophomore year was the year that my mom started dating my stepdad. So that year, my stepdad was still living in Austin, and occasionally my mom would go to Austin for the usually I got to stay in San Antonio so I could like hang out with my friends. But there was like one weekend where she made me go to Austin with her, and I think it was that weekend that Jenny met Adam. I think they met at a party. Whenever she got back to my house, she was so excited, telling me all about this new guy, Adam, who she met, how he's so cute and he's sweet and he's funny and he's fun, and they've been talking and whatever. She was like super excited about this guy. After they met, she started bringing him and his friends around to like my house more, and if y'all recall from the We Jumped Her video, that weekend that I was in Austin, I had a falling out with one of my other good friends who was a guy friend. I didn't even really have a falling out with him. I more had a falling out with the girl that he was talking to, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, after that incident, that group, which was mostly guys, which was all guys besides me and Jenny, that group stopped like hanging out with us as much, so they weren't around like when Adam and his friends started coming around. Adam had like 2 or 3 like main friends that he was always with, and they would come over too. These guys were all super cool. They were so nice. They were fun to be around. Like, I loved hanging out with them. I got really close with Adam's best friend, and we'll call him Travis. The one thing that I do remember about Adam and his friends, I remember them being like, I don't remember anything specific, but I remember I remember that they were like worse than us, if that makes sense. Like, they were like caused a little more trouble, you know. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Jenny and I drank, but we didn't like do anything other than that. We weren't really like, we weren't doing bad things. Like, we weren't like getting into trouble. And again, I don't remember anything specific, but I just remember that these guys were like a little more trouble than we were. But I mean, that was also kind of normal. Like, Jenny and I tended to hang out with people who were a little more trouble than we were. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing in that Jenny and I were always like the best, like the most goody good people that we in our group. But it's a bad thing because, you know, you are who you hang out with, and if you're hanging out with people who are getting into trouble or causing trouble, then by association you're kind of a troublemaker too, you know. We've been hanging out for a few weeks and everything's great, everything's going great, until one random day. It's me, Jenny, Adam, Travis, and their other friend. So we're all like hanging out, and eventually Adam asks me for my address because he needs to give it to his cousin who's on his way to pick them up. So I'm like, yeah, cool, like, here's my address. A little time passes and we're all hanging out in the living room, and there's not a knock on the door. There's not a ring of the doorbell. No, my front door swings wide open and 2 guys just walk straight into my house. And when I say guys, I mean like young men, like 2. These guys were definitely adults, like they were over 18. So Adam and his friends were like 17, 18, and this was Adam's older cousin. So these are like 2 grown men barging into my home. My mom was upstairs and like we were all downstairs, and I saw them and I was like, and of course I'm kind of freaked out, and I look at Adam like, and Adam almost like looks down, like he did not address the situation at all. He didn't say anything to his cousin. His cousin walks straight in, walks past the couch, past the living room, hangs left into the kitchen, beelines it for our fridge, opens the door, looks in the fridge for a second, slams the fridge shut and says, "What are y'all, poor? Y'all don't have shit in here." I was shook. Like, I know. Like, this was just wrong on every, I mean, do we need to get into it? Let's just, 1, he just barged into my house. 2, he's scary. 3, he didn't say a word and walks straight to my fridge like he owns the place. 4, opens my fridge as if he's gonna take some of my food. 5, goes on to then call us poor even though the fridge was stocked. He has the nerve to say that we're poor because we don't have any food for him. I mean, wow. So I was like, Adam, are you kidding me right now? Like, what? Like, y'all. And he's like, literally, like, he's just like, just like looks down, like, like he's afraid. So then I'm even more scared. Like, why are you so, if this is your cousin and you're afraid of him and you're bringing him into my house and he's coming in like this? Like, he was very clearly on something. Like, this guy had to have been on something in order to walk in like that. And I mean, it was like pretty common knowledge at that moment. Like, once he walked in, like, I don't know if Adam said that, or I want to say it was his friend Travis who said something, but nobody would say anything to him. So I'm like, what the hell? So I'm very upset. Nobody's doing anything about it. And I went upstairs to my mom, like almost in tears, because I was so frustrated and so offended, and so I just felt so, what's the word? I felt like violated, kind of, just that he walked into my house like that, opened my fridge, and then insulted us. Like, I was just like very upset. I was telling my mom what happened, and she was like, just tell them to leave. Like, she was like, no big deal, just tell them to leave. So I went back down. I was like, y'all need to go. Like, y'all need to leave. So the guys left, and Jenny and I were both like, what the hell just happened? This is where things really started to change. After that happened, I lost all trust and respect for Adam because he didn't say anything to his cousin when I was being very clearly disrespected in my own home. And like, he was a guest in my house and he had his cousin come over, and I felt all of this was on Adam. So I was really upset, and I told Jenny that I didn't want them coming over anymore. So after that, Jenny is like, you know, starting this new relationship, and she's already really close with Adam, and things are just getting more and more serious. So instead of continuing to spend time at my house, she's at Adam's house now, or she's at her house with Adam. And on the weekends, I would go to Jenny's house, and I'd still hang out with Adam and Travis and all of them. And like, I was like, eventually I was like on good terms with everyone still. I just didn't want them in my house, and I don't think that they were allowed in my house after that, for that matter. Once school let out, we still hung out a little bit, but she was like always with Adam, and I had started seeing my ex-boyfriend again that summer. So I was just hanging out with my boyfriend, and she was hanging out with her boyfriend, and we kind of like grew apart. Towards the end of summer, I was at the DMV with my stepdad and my boyfriend, and I get a phone call from Jenny. Mind you, Jenny and I aren't really speaking a whole lot. We've kind of got our own things going on. I personally was a little salty about the fact that we just kind of stopped talking because of Adam. So I answered the call. It wasn't typical for her to just like call me like that. So I answered the call, and I can tell in her voice she's got something very serious to tell me. So I'm like, what? Like, what happened, Jenny? And she tells me that she's pregnant. I'm like, oh my gosh. I want to say I have a regret about that, because when she told me that she was pregnant, I was like, oh my god, like, are you okay? You know, what's your plan? Like, have you told your mom? Like, what about school? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I was coming at her with. A few months days later, we're in school, and she told me that one of the teachers congratulated her on her pregnancy, and she said that that was the first and only person to have congratulated her on her pregnancy. So now as a mom, I look back on that and I feel really bad because I didn't understand. Nobody wants to be a teen parent, and it's probably best to wait. Like, if you can help it, like, wait to be a parent until you're older. However, pregnancy and babies are blessings, and so I look back on that and feel really bad about not having been more excited for her. I think that I was still trying to swallow the pill of kind of losing my best friend to Adam as it was, and then I just thought I'd get her back one day, and then when I found out she was pregnant, I was just like, whoa, like, this changes everything, and it just was a really immature way of thinking. Anyway, as she gets further along in her pregnancy, she's talking to me less and less. She and I started a new school together our junior year, and she just didn't talk to me. I mean, the year before we were both talking about how we had to go, but we were glad we were going to be together, and once school started, we didn't hang out at all, like, at all. So that was just like really weird, and the more that that went on, the angrier I got, because I felt like we were so close, and I felt like she owed me more than that. Like, she owed me a conversation, if nothing else. Like, okay, fine, she doesn't have time for me. Okay, fine, she doesn't want to, maybe she's got her own drama going on that she doesn't want to, like, be there for me anymore, but you're not even gonna have a conversation with me about it. Here's the thing, this is why I expected a conversation. Eventually, it got to the point where I would text her, see how she's doing, and she just wouldn't respond to me at all. And it seemed as though she made a decision, or Adam made her stop talking to me. And when I say that I would text her and she wouldn't text back, like, I tried. I texted her anywhere from, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's the pregnancy? Anywhere from that to, are you mad at me? Did I do something to upset you? I feel like we should have a conversation. Like, is something going on? Even like long texts, like talking about I'm feeling, or I just don't, what I'm not understanding about the situation. Eventually it got to the point where none of my texts got responses, and so I realized and accepted that a decision had been made by somebody that she was not to talk to me anymore, whether that was her decision or his decision. It's so weird. I would go over, because remember, I was friends with her sister, so when Jenny and I kind of grew apart a little bit, I started hanging out with her sister a little bit more, and I would go over sometimes and hang out with her sister, and Jenny would just stay in her room and not come out and not talk. She wouldn't even say hi to me, and I would have to ask, like, can I say hi? Like, it was so freaking weird because we were so close, and then all of a sudden she won't even speak to me. So that was weird. And then I did show up at the hospital when the baby was born, but it was kind of awkward. And then after that, there was nothing. Like, we didn't speak at all. So then New Year's Eve, our junior year, I've got this new boyfriend, and I had people over at my house for New Year's Eve. It was like kind of like a party, and I was there with my boyfriend, and I get a phone call from Jenny. Again, doesn't happen, right? So I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, what are you doing? Can you come pick me up? It's an emergency. And I was like, yeah, where are you? So I went and picked her up from Adam's house, and her and the baby. And remember, we hadn't spoken in months, and she tells me that the baby needs formula, and she doesn't have any money. So baby. But on the way to Walmart, obviously Jenny is in the worst mood, but she's talking about how she was literally saying, I don't need friends, I don't want friends, like I don't have any interest or desire to have friendships with people. And I wasn't asking her, and it wasn't like we were specifically talking about us. Like, she wasn't saying like, I don't want to be your friend, Sabrina. She was just like broadly talking about how she didn't want any friends. And so of course I took that very personally, and I was like, well damn, like what am I doing? Like, why? But of course I wasn't gonna not buy formula for the baby, but it was just like, why am I doing all this? Like, why am I being here for you if you don't want to be my friend? Like, I mean, I guess I would do this for a stranger, but it was just different for me because I loved her, you know? So that was really hard. That was actually a really hard day. So I didn't talk to her anymore after that. As a matter of fact, after that I was mad, you know. I was even more mad at her than I was before. Like, I was already put off by the situation, but the fact that she was saying all that, it just felt like she was trying to hurt me. Like, I felt like she was trying to hurt me. And so I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. Jenny winds up having another baby with Adam, and I maintain my friendship with Alicia. So every so often I'll go over to Alicia's house, and this is like after high school. I'll go hang out, I'll spend the night there and like drink or whatever. And it was the same story for years. I'd go over, they always had like kind of big houses, so like Jenny would be in her room and I'd be in Alicia's room, or like in the house, and I just wouldn't see Jenny. And I would even ask, like, can I go say hi? Or I text her sometimes, and a lot of times, like, I just couldn't, like, I just didn't have the option to go in and say hi to Jenny. It was so weird. You know, of course, like, as time goes by, I'm not necessarily mad anymore, and if I was, I had more love for her than anger or resentment. Not to mention, I never got my closure. Like, it really felt like she left me, like she dumped me, you know? Like, I felt like I got dumped, and like with no explanation. Like, it's one thing to get dumped, but it's another to get dumped and not know why. And I didn't understand back then why she wouldn't speak to me before and after the babies were born. Like, why all these years? Like, it seemed like she was mad at me still, like holding on to something, and I just couldn't understand why she was so angry. Like, we can't say hi, like, you lived with me, we were like sisters, you know, we were so close. It's so weird how you just leave me without an explanation, and then I'm in your home and I can't talk to you. It was just so weird, and honestly, like, it hurt me for years. I was so hurt. So as we get a little older, I knew she and Adam broke up, or they were like off and on or something, but every now and then Jenny reaches out to me. She'll send me a message on social media. One thing that she would ask me like a bunch was, like, every once in a while she would come to me and say, hey, do you have any pictures of us from high school? And by this time I'm already like in my 20s, and I moved on, you know, like, I moved on a long time ago. I've had new best friends. I've had, you know, so much has changed in life, and not just for me, for her too, you know. She's had children, and like, just so much had changed by this time, right? So it was so weird to me that not only would she message me, but she would ask for pictures from when we were in high school. It wasn't weird. Like, I wasn't like, okay, weirdo. Like I get, you know, wanting to look back on high school pictures, but I just didn't understand. What was weird to me was how it went from, I can't even say hi to her when I'm at her house, to, do you have pictures? Like, I just didn't understand how we got. I didn't understand how we got to the point where we couldn't speak, we couldn't say hi. Like, I never even understood how we got there, let alone how we got here, where she now wants to see pictures of us as kids. Like, I just could not begin to wrap my head around what was possibly going on. And so well to feeling like I didn't know her at all. It was bizarre for me, like something that was weird to process and go through. So fast forward to my 25th birthday. My mom usually plans something for me every year. It's usually just like a birthday lunch or dinner with my family. But this one year, my mom rented one of those like beer bikes. So it's like a big long bike with a bar. So it's like a bike in the front with like maybe it probably seats like 20 people, and everybody pedals, and like there's a bar in the middle and you can BYOB. My mom planned this whole beer bike deal for my birthday, and she invited people and didn't really tell me who she invited. So I show up to the brewery where we're starting, and people are getting there, and I'm seeing my cousins and seeing some people. I'm like, hey, I'm excited to see everyone. And then Jenny walks up. Of course, I'm like, hey, and I give her a hug. But I'm like, I remember thinking, what is she doing here? Let's just be completely honest. I was excited to see her. She is somebody that anytime I see her, it's almost like, you know, if you've ever like had like a crush, like somebody that you've had a crush on forever, and anytime you see them, you're like, oh, it's almost like that with her, but it's not romantic, you know. I just love her. Like Jenny was like my person, you know. So of course I saw her and I was like, oh. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not that I didn't want her there. It's just I could not understand how we got here. Like, how is she here? I don't get it. Like, I just think it's much more appropriate to like say hi and have a conversation with someone in a more casual setting, like, oh, I'm at your house visiting your sister, what's up, as opposed to you're showing up at my 25th birthday. 25, like, we had our falling out when we were 16. It had been almost 10 years. I just didn't get it. It was a great surprise. Like, I loved that she was there and I loved getting to see her, but I just wished there had been it was a surprise, and I wish my mom would have told me at a time so I could have like mentally prepared. Had I mentally prepared, I maybe wouldn't have been, because I was a little put off, not by her being there, but just like, how can you just show up to my birthday after like what you've done to me? I wasn't mad at her. I just felt like I needed a conversation. I think that's what all of this boils down to, is I was so confused because we never talked about it. And so I'm like, we didn't talk about it when you left me. We didn't talk about it when you wouldn't speak to me for years. And you're gonna show up on my birthday without having ever spoken to me about this. Like, we need to talk, girl. We need to talk. That's how I felt. But I didn't quite know it. I didn't understand my emotions, honestly. It was a weird mix of emotions when I saw her. So that was how we got through. We got past it. After that, Jenny started to pop back up more. She would message me like every once in a while and say like, we need to get together, we need to catch up, I miss you, I miss your mom. I was always like, yeah, we should get together, but I always had like a reservation that I didn't understand. But in retrospect, I can clearly see like it felt like she was trying to pick things back up, like she was trying to pick up where we left off, but I never got a conversation. So I had a lot of trouble. I just didn't get it. Like, it didn't make sense to me, and I felt like I was being kind of fake, like fake nice. And it's, again, I wasn't anything but happy to see her, but I was being fake nice because I was so confused. Like, I was genuinely just confused. So it got to the point where I almost felt like I owed her something. Like, she was really making an effort to reach out to me and tell me she wanted to get together. So I was like, you know, like, I should do this, because I felt in my heart like I wanted to see a doctor. I still feel that way to this day. Like, I feel that like pull towards her, but I just, before I had like something was in the way, and I was like, I just need to let go. While I was pregnant, Jenny messaged me saying that she wanted to have lunch with me and my mom, and so we went to pizza. Like, we all went and got pizza together, and we had a good conversation. and my mom probably, they're just as close. They were just as close as she and I were, so they had a lot of catching up to do too, and it was great. But I still felt weird. I was earlier on in my pregnancy when we went and had lunch, and then I invited Jenny to my baby shower. I actually invited Jenny and Alicia, but only Jenny went. Jenny brought her kids, her 3 kids, and Alicia's 2 kids, so that was fun. But yeah, we got to talk, and I was honestly very appreciative that she went to my baby shower. Like, it meant a lot to me. Like, it said a lot to me that she showed up. She brought 5 kids. She didn't have her sister's help. She showed up. She like brought gifts and was interested in me and my family and my baby, and it meant a lot to me that she did that. So by this time, I've fully like softened up to Jenny, but I'm still confused. So time goes by, I have the baby, and we move into our new house that we live in now, which, by the way, the new house is very, very close to where Jenny lives, like 2 minutes. We're like 2 minutes away from each other. I remember sitting in my backyard with my husband, and I was thinking about Jenny, and again, the whole like situation, and just how confused I am, and like what are these emotions, like what am I feeling? I feel something, but I don't know what it is. Like, it doesn't feel positive, but it also doesn't feel negative. Like, I don't feel like hate or anger or sadness or anything towards her negative, but there is something there that's not positive, right? Like, what is this? And it kind of clicked for me. I was the last thing Jenny knew before she became a mom. I was like her reality before she got into this relationship with Adam. Now, I knew that the relationship with Adam was toxic, and I don't want to get into detail, even though I'm using fake names. I'm not gonna like get into what all he was putting Jenny through, but I knew that there was bad stuff going on. Like, when we were not friends, I knew that, and she had mentioned things like that to me, like after the fact, like when we were older, but I didn't know everything, or I did and didn't quite know how to process it, or didn't know what to make of it. But then Jenny and I decide we need to get together. She and I both know that we live really close to each other, and there's this new chicken and waffles restaurant like right by where we live. So I was like, yeah, let's get together, get chicken and waffles, and like catch up. This was less than a year ago. So we meet up, and I did not know going into this dinner the conversations that we were gonna have. We were finally able to have the conversation that I was missing all these years, like for the last 10 years. We talked about why we stopped talking, how the falling out occurred, everything that Adam put her through. We talked about like how we felt throughout all these years, specifically about our friendship, and like the way that things ended. And Jenny told me that she had this fear that I felt like she abandoned me and like left me, dumped me. This is after me telling her that I felt like she kind of just left me. And so she was like, you know, I've always had that fear. I wasn't sure what she was saying when she was saying that, and she said she was just always afraid that I felt like she left me, which that meant so much to me that, you know, it's like all I needed to hear, like just to know that she looks back and thinks that I didn't deserve that, or like, because you know, when somebody who you hold in a high regard, or somebody that you love or care about, mistreats you, it feels like it just feels like choose to surround yourself with, because chances are there's a pattern, just like there was in my case. However, I don't think that Jenny was somebody that ordinarily would do that to me. I think that she got in a bad relationship that resulted in her not being happy with herself, and in turn not being very nice to other people. But it felt so good to hear that she had been thinking about me through the years, and like hoping and fearing. Like it meant something to me to hear that she was afraid that I was there, like wondering, because I was wondering. And just to know that that matters to her, like I just, like truly, that's all I needed to hear. And so we had this whole long conversation about it, and she apologized to me, and honestly, like after that, I felt like a weight was off my shoulders, and I felt like that feeling that I said wasn't positive, which I can now label confusion as confusion. That feeling though had totally gone away. It was like it just like floated away. Like everything made sense to me, and I just felt so much better about my relationship with Jenny. And I told her that. I said, I don't know about you, but I feel so much better after having had this talk. And it went so well, and it just confirmed why I love her so much. We don't talk a whole lot. I haven't talked to her in a while, especially not with the quarantine. Like, we're obviously not hanging out, but yeah, I'd say we're on good terms. I hope she's not like upset seeing this video, or I hope it doesn't like bring up anything for her. But I did see her one time since then. So after the chicken and waffles date, I did have my daughter's first birthday party, and Jenny came and Alicia came, and they brought their kids, and that was awesome. I think Jenny is one of those people that was put into my life for a reason. I will always love her. She will always be special to me. Anyway, that is a story about how my best friend and I broke up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also,